just run you through the session for today. Srishti ma'am will be discussing the answer writing a book written by her. The glimpse into her book will be done. And as you all know, there are a lot of good reviews by students who are freshers and veterans. And in collaboration with UPSC Guide, IAS Baba is pleased to have her here today. Also, today is special because we'll be launching our batch 3 of our USP program, ILP, that is Integrated Learning Program 2023. It is the biggest self-study program for UPSC. Daily targets, daily tests, prelims and mains test series, NCRT coverage, value-added notes, CSAT and mind maps are given. Today, because Srishti ma'am is here, we are giving a launch offer which is valid only for today. Those who are enrolling today can use the code Srishti10 to avail a discount of flat 10%. There are free books will be issued for those joining today to the ILP program. Now I request Founder Mohan sir to address the gathering.
Hello. Good afternoon to all of you. I know it's very, very, very hot. It is said that marriages are made in heaven. I assume what is the next sentence? Like all of you know the next sentence. So for civil servants, for quite a few civil servants, marriage is made in Lavasna. And today we have two such cute couples, the power couples, Nagarjun Gowda and Srushti Deshmukh Gowda, 2019 IAS batch. I don't have to introduce them formally. There's a huge fan following for them, and that I can see it here. Just in 2 days of the post that got published, we have more than 7,000 registrations for this event. So that speaks volumes of it. And I don't know the right adjective to use. They have a huge fan following, or probably everything that they post on the social media is viral. Right? In fact, I'm not much active on the social media. Probably I have to learn a few things from both of them. Probably after the session I'll learn. And yeah, about Srushti, like she was one of the toppers. I mean, toppers in 2018 UPSC exam, and most importantly, her GS score was 470. That, I mean, not everybody can score. See, getting 400, 420, 430, it is achievable, but getting 470 is something insane, or only a few people can do it. And she has done it. Congratulations for that. Yeah, and I was always thinking about this answer writing book. Who else would be the best person or better person to write it? And she has come out with that book. I would congratulate her for that and all the best for that. And finally, I'll warmly welcome our Sose. How many of you understand Kannada? Sose or Bahu, right? I warmly welcome her to Karnataka and to IAS Baba. And to her son, Maga, that is son of soil. Nagarjun Gowda, right? Mandyada Gandu. Right, if you look at him, to describe him is a Sida, Sada, a boy next door, right? Very humble, and even in fact, what mistake me and Tausif did was when we were lighting the lamp, we forgot to remove our shoes. But then I saw both of them had removed their shoes and slippers and they had come here. That speaks volumes of them. Yeah. And again, as I said, Sada, Sida, boy next door. And I'm proud that he's a Kannadiga, Kannadavanu, Karnatakadavanu anta heli. Yeah. Probably ನಾನು ಯಾವಾಗ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ವಿಸಲ್ ಬಂದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಬಟ್ so we can understand their celebrity status, all that. And Nagarjun is, I mean, a diverse personality. He loves pets, loves traveling, he dances. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. So his personality is what has got him that one of the highest marks in the interview. That is 193. A huge round of applause to Nagarjun. Yeah, I'll not take much of your time. I'll leave the dais open to the power couples to speak and guide you on exclusively on mains answer writing. Thank you.
First of all, power couple ಏನಲ್ಲ. Everything looks greener on the other side antaralla hange. Once you come into service, there is no power. It's all about hard work and too much of.
It is all about hard work.
Yeah, it's
no Sundays.
So first of all, I would like to apologize that we are half an hour late. So as I was telling downstairs, sir ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, madam had underestimated Bangalore traffic. So ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೇಟಾಗಿ ಹೊರಟ್ವಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ವಿ ಗಾಟ್ ಲೇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ವಿ ಗಾಟ್ ಲೇಟ್, ಸೊ ವಿ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಾರಿ ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ to making you wait in this.
Yes, and the place here is as well, it's a bit hot. I am seeing that you're getting fruities, so I think you should be able to put up with the place for some more time. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. This particular session is planned on answer writing, handling mains, how do you approach preparation for general studies papers, and how do you go for attempting your UPSC mains paper. So we will be touching all of these aspects one by one together, and I would want to keep this session more interactive, because a one-way kind of a session you would be seeing of a lot of toppers on YouTube. But the fact that we are here all today, so you can directly ask your questions to us. And in case we are telling something and you feel like that there's something that you want to add on that particular, ask on that particular topic, so you can just put your hands up, right? So we'll keep it interactive, we'll keep it two-way, right? So the first question for you is, how many of you are writing mains this year? Okay. How many of you have written mains? All right. So a major part of the crowd will be writing mains next year or the year after. Okay. So we'll keep it that way. And I would like to first begin by telling you the importance of this mic. Is it fine from here? Can you hear me? A bit near. Okay. Yes. So we'll begin by why answer writing is important. So general studies, how many papers do we have for general studies? 4 papers. What else do we have in written? We have optionals, we have compulsory language, and we have essay. So I will start by giving you my own example. My total score for UPSC was 1068, right? And my GS score, as sir was telling you, was 470. That makes around 45% of my score coming only from GS. Why I'm telling you is that the major part of why I got the rank that I got was my score in general studies. Because if you look at my scores in optionals and essay and interview, they're pretty on the average side, right? So on average of the other toppers. But what made me reach that rank was my general studies score. So this speaks volumes about how much you can gain out of preparing for those 4 GS papers, how well you can practice it in advance, and what kind of returns you can get in your overall score from the general studies papers, right? So we will first start with how do you prepare. This is giving echo. We will start by we'll start by how do we prepare. So there is a common question from students: how do you make notes? Yes, this is a very common question which all of us have when we start preparing. And notes, when you say I'll talk about 3 different parts of it. The first is how do you make notes of the current affairs? Yes, this sounds tricky to us. So what I used to do was, I used to read a particular newspaper. I used to read Hindu, then I started reading Indian Express and the latest stages of my preparation. You can choose either of them. You can read the newspaper and try to specifically focus on the editorial section. And for that, I used to make my own notes. So when I say own notes, what I mean is, I used to note down some important statements, some good facts, some statistics, some quotation, or some international report which is quoted there. When you do that for an editorial, what happens is, you are creating your own data bank. You are creating your own line of thought in that particular topic. And I had categorized them according to the different topics of the general studies. So I had made history, geography. Generally in current affairs, you'll not have much of history, geography. You'll more have polity, economy, Indian society. What else? Science and tech, IR, international relations. So I had categorized the topics, and I used to note down whatever editorial importance which I used to find in that particular head. So that gave me, at the end of 1 year, I had my own set of notes for all important topics that were there for that year. So when you say current affairs, if you're giving the exam for 2023, from January 2022, your current affairs become important. From Jan 22 for the next year exam of 2023. That much is sufficient, because more or less the themes will remain same. Only the facts will change, like the amount of poverty, different facts. Hote hain. GS2 you have in GS3 different facts. So those will change, but over a year the theory part will more or less remain the same.
So one thing what I would want to say here is, I used to not make much of a notes. I am not a note making person. But I could say that it might have costed me a few marks. So now, after maybe I married Srushti, I could see her notes. So I saw her notes which was lying in there at her house. Like she had made so much of notes. Maybe itna pura like ishtu doddu bundle notes ittu. And they were very crisp, to the point, and she had made lots of notes. And maybe that has helped in her general studies score, I would say.
I always tell that the more organized your notes are, the more better your answers will come out to be. Reason being, our brain is like a library. And if you are not categorizing it into different subjects, if you're just, keeping it, I'll just pick up from an overall yearly compilation and I'll be able to manage it, you will be able to manage it. But to ace the exam with good score and get the service of your choice, you will have to put in a bit more of effort, right? So I would advise you to, make out your own this thing from the editorials at least. Rest current affairs you can cover from online websites. The next thing is static GS. Arjun.
One more thing I would like to add in current affairs. So you get lot of value-added material from coaching institutes. Take from some reliable institute which make good current affairs notes. So as madam was telling, editorial notes neeve madkoli. Beredakke you try to depend upon some institute notes, if you are not so much into note making. But if you are doing it very well and good. And coming to static GS, what we both thought was like static GSLE, it is note making is very individual, this one choice. So you may choose to make notes for maybe history or geography, or you may not. So it will not affect much in at the end, I would say.
Because what happens is, some of your books, so we read M. Lakshmikant for polity, yes? Now this book is in itself in a form of notes. If you end up making notes of that book, you'll do a photocopy.
Because already the book is very condensed, very to the point, and sort of vast, which is required for the exam. So for that, you need not go into that. So say for example, you're referring to D.D. Basu for polity. Now D.D. Basu is bit vast, deep. And if you're not a pub-ad student, then you don't need that much of it. So you can sort of just pick up some important themes like say center-state relations or DPSP or fundamental rights. You can pick up those themes from that book and then you can make some bit notes of that. What notes does is keeps in your head and in your copy, it sort of consolidates your information. And it becomes easier for you to revise. So we will talk about revision, but at the outset I'll tell you that no matter how much you read, the only thing which you can revise matters. Because you are reading so much vast things, you have so many subjects to read. So if you end up just making notes and not revising them, there is no use of them, right? So you have to understand this basic, you have to keep in mind the revision factor also in your head. So we'll move on.
Optional.
Yeah.
When it comes to note making of optionals, I would say this should be compulsory. If optional, I would stick to English. You should make notes of optional. So my optional was medical science. So as I told, I was not a note making person. I used to hate making notes right from school. But for optional, I had to make notes because you cannot revise optional in a week. So it is so vast that to particularly technical subjects like medical science and all, it's so vast that you can't revise in a week. So you have to make your own notes. So what I did was like I made few of my friends make notes for me and I used to read that. But the point to take away from here is...
Not sure we're getting those friends, everybody of us. So I more was a, work hard, strive hard, that kind of a thing. So he got friends who could make notes for him. I'm not sure if you all would get that.
Yeah, but optional you should definitely make your own notes. Your own notes will definitely add much value than reading somebody else's notes. The medical science has notes available on internet of one of our senior. So it's really good. But if you read that, you'll not be able to grasp it as much as you have prepared on your own. So optional notes making is very much necessary. Even if you don't make any other notes, you make sure that you will make your own optional notes. Okay?
Fine then. So we will now move on to GS papers 1, 2, 3, 4 individually. And we'll discuss some important themes of that paper and we will discuss the preparation frameworks of it. Yeah. So the first is GS1. What do we have in GS1? History, geography, world history, post-independence history, then Indian society, what else? Art and culture, correct. So I think that is all that we have in GS1. So all these subjects are pretty vast in their nature, yes. If you're studying history, you have to just start from the back to the, the post-independence part of it, the entire freedom movement. In geography, if you pick, there are different parts of it, landforms, economic geography, so many parts. So this GS paper is going to be vast. It's going to take more time of yours. So I would suggest keep that in your head. You don't have some quick pointers like in GS3. You can just, keep on finishing topics fast. That's not happening in GS1. So be prepared for that when you start preparation for it. Other thing which I would like to say is, if you look at the paper of the previous year papers of GS1, you will find that there are a lot of repeated themes in the paper. There are a couple of topics, and this I have mentioned specifically in my book as well. There are certain topics and themes which come more or less every year. Now we know that the exam is going to be a bit unpredictable and we don't know what you're facing, but in mains, there is a lot that you can prepare for in advance. Say there is a theme called regionalism. If you look at the papers, you will have one question or the other on regionalism. They will try to connect regionalism with state formation, interstate relation or something like that. So why not prepare a framework in advance of that topic, right? So we know that a question is coming out of it. So why not prepare a good definition? Why not prepare a good example? Why not look into the current affairs of what specifically happened this year about this particular subject? When you do that, you're creating your own framework of that topic. And then in the exam, if you face any question with regionalism, anything, you at least have a framework to start with. And that gives you immense confidence on that day. Correct? So my thing will be, please go on repeating, go on focusing on the themes which are repetitive in nature. And from current affairs, like we were trying to tell them.
When it comes to GS1, so if you take up GS1 question paper, if you observe, so what you should learn is to observe the previous year question papers. So many toppers say ki, like you read previous year question papers, read previous year question papers. So you must be wondering what to read in previous year questions. They are just questions. No, but you should also understand that there is a hidden way of asking questions in all the question papers. If you go through, you just have to observe that. So when it comes to GS1, so generally what they do is, so they take up some static topic and they link it with the current. So generally they will have two parts. First part, they will this applies to GS2 as well. So first part they will ask you to explain something related to static. So for example, post-independence history.
For example, recently we had this Museum of the Prime Ministers, right? That was inaugurated in Delhi, yes? Did you follow that current affairs? So what can be connected from the past? They can ask you the contributions of Prime Ministers over the years. Yes? So you are like picking up a theme from the static. You're like picking up a theme from the past, from the theoretical, theoretical aspect of the post-independence history, and then you're trying to connect it with what is happening at the current moment. You're getting the point?
For example, the question might come like this. Recently, a National Museum of Prime Minister has been inaugurated in Delhi. So what do you think, or what are the contributions made by the previous Prime Ministers in the economic development of the country as it is today? So this might be the question. So the current affairs is inauguration of PM Museum, but the topic is economic development and contributions of different PMs for this. So this is how they will link. This is how they will link the current affairs with the static part. So
and this you will find with all of UPSC questions.
Yeah.
There is this analytical part of it. You will find very less straightforward questions. Define X and give examples. Very rarely you will find such questions. Most of the questions will be interconnecting 2 or 3 main topics or themes of the entire syllabus. And mind you, nowadays, in GS1, they actually can ask about economic development, which you would think ye to GS3 ka topic hai, right? In our heads, we are categorizing it according to it. But there is a lot of interconnection that's happening. There's a lot of interconnection of the topics and arguments that they expect from you. And that's why such questions can be there.
For example, when it comes to geography, so recently there was Assam floods. They might take up topic from Assam floods, and they might ask, they might include the disaster management part also in GS1. It might happen. It can happen.
Or so in GS1, you could have why the flood happens, how it happens, the geographical part of it, right? Yeah.
So that is how they will link. So they will link the static part, and they will take some current affairs. So then they will ask you to analyze the effects, or analyze something else. So it's all about analysis. It's all about how you think. So mains is all about how you think. It's not about how much you know.
So how do you prepare for such kind of a paper? When you are preparing a static part, and so that's why both your static and current should be sort of done simultaneously. All of us would ask, how many hours should I give for reading the newspaper? Yes? Sometimes I have a question. I spend a lot of time on reading the question on the newspaper. What should I do? So newspaper editorial is important. Static is also important. You have to somehow manage, say, 1.5 hours for newspaper current of the day, and then you can move on to the major static part. But keep connecting in your head. If you have a question of, or if you have an editorial on floods, please go back to GS1, geography of floods. If you have a question of some volcano erupting in some Southeast Asian country, please go back to what volcanism is, how different landforms are formed, what is the scientific theory behind it, geographical theory behind it.
So what I have observed in her notes is, so she mentioned volcano. So what she would have written is volcano ka jo bhi geographical aspects. Then if there is something current happening, So I said her notes would have the both static part and also the current affairs part. So everything about volcano and disaster
Will be in one page.
would be in only in a single page. Or if there is some international conventions which has happened on any such topic, everything would be there in a single page. So here you would have covered geography, disaster management, at the same time some maybe international organization or international IR topic also.
Yes, yes.
So this is how you should make notes. In a single page, you should cover the whole topic holistically.
And that is definitely going to help you, right? We have another topic, Indian society. Can you tell me which is the basic theme from Indian society which is asked every year? Women empowerment, yes, one. Another one. Caste. Caste. Poverty will go to 2 and 3. GS1, caste, 100%. How caste is changing, how caste is impacting the society, how communalism is one. Regionalism, as I told you, is one. Caste is one. Women empowerment, 200% you're getting a question. You're getting a question in essay, you're getting it in GS1, you might getting in GS2. So these are themes that you should be preparing very seriously. Grab an article. If you find an editorial, just grab it, read it, just relish it. That, there are some important points that I can just use it from this. If you find an online article, some website, you're finding it, just go through it. So these are themes, your mental, whatever antenna should be alert. This topic is there. Let me just, properly read it for my own and let me just note down some important topics. So we'll move on to GS2. Yes?
So we'll take questions in between, no?
If there's anything which you have, you can just, I would like to remind you that it's a two-way session. You can just ask us.
Regarding GS1, if you have
GS1.
covered GS1, you can ask anything about GS1 if you have any doubt.
Yes, you can just put your hands up and we'll take your question.
There is a question.
Yeah, please.
Mic is on. Mic.
Yeah, you. You can come forward.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, it is usually said that don't make a notes on first reading. Make a notes on after second reading and third reading. Ma'am, what is the gap between the first reading and second reading, ma'am? If we give too much of gap, means if we read second time also, it will get, we are reading first time only.
Yes.
So we are stuck between how to make notes. The gap between first reading and second reading and third reading.
Fine.
Ma'am, this is the.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this question is basically applicable for static part, correct? Say for example, the newspaper for 30th July. Will you be going back to it after a couple of days? No. 30th July newspaper is gone. Then will come 30th August and so on. So this question is applicable for static. I am reading NCERT for the first time. Should I make notes on the first go? Not advisable. Reason being, first time everything sounds very fresh. First time I read magma and lava, I feel, oh, there was something like that in 6th standard. Now it's again feeling fresh. But when I am reading about the different theories, the Wegener theory and whatnot of geography, I will see that lava-magma concept is extremely basic. UPSC is not going to throw you such questions, neither in prelims nor in mains. So that means that I am not going to make notes out of it now, of that particular topic. But if you are reading something from GS2, you are reading the concept of, tell me some political concept, anything? Say communalism. I'm reading about communalism from the 11th standard political science NCERT. Yes? I read it and then I found over and over UPSC is asking me communalism. So yes, that particular topic becomes important for me. I might want to note down some important things from it. When it comes to the second reading, third reading, that will be more applicable for your standard books. See, what is the layer of your preparation? Base is your NCERT. That is the base. Please don't ignore it. Please don't say that I am an art student, I've taken humanities, I'll leave on NCERTs, I'll directly pick on the standard books. No. You can see for yourself, 2018, we had a question in GS1 that was directly drawn from 11th standard NCERT history. The particular chapter topic was picked up. So the themes UPSC is concerned about of NCERT, do read it. Second thing of your preparation is standard books, yes? Every standard book. The third part of your preparation is your reference books. So you don't need reference books for every subject. But say, for example, if you feel that I need to read a bit deeper for polity, so I may take up D.D. Basu as a reference. My standard book will be Lakshmikant, like that. So for notes, that is all. First reading, thoda, you can sort of keep it aside. Maybe in a week, maybe in 10 days when you revisit the topic and you somehow forget a couple of concepts, then you can sort of just write it down in your copy that, you know, this is something which is important, right?
If I have to add on to that, so if so many people will have this doubt, so should I make notes now when you are reading this? So what you can also do is keep 4 books each for GS 1, 2, 3, 4. So whatever you read, if you feel like this is worth making note of, so then you note down in that particular book. So here it will not be organized, because today you will be reading some topic. Again, after 10 days, you will be reading the same topic again. So in this page, you would have made notes. After 10 page, again, you will make the same notes. So here it will not be organized, but your doubt of whether I should make this now or not, or will I miss this information if I miss it today. So this will be solved. So this is what I would advise. If you have this kind of doubt, take 4 books. So if you feel like this is a point worth noting down in GS2, note it down in GS2 paper. So if it is GS4, if you see some example of something, maybe in social media, everybody is active in social media, you will be coming up across so many stories of different ethical values in social media.
Yes.
Note it down in your GS4, this one. So you can use it. It's very, it will be very new example which other aspirants will not use. So they will use example of maybe Mahatma Gandhi ji or some other great leaders which everybody will know of. So you will use some new, this one which you would have picked up from the common man, which is from the society.
You know, so that's where with what we were telling you is create your own data bank. Yes, it's your own personalized set of personalized set of revision notes you can just go back to again and again. And for a lot of us, writing down really helps us memorize it. That's also one thing, because each of our learning capacities are different. Some of us like to write it and learn. Some of us like to read it aloud to ourselves, listen to it and learn. Some of us will, you know, just read it once and they'll be through. So we all have different learning capacities. You should understand, try and find out your own learning capacity, how you learn the best. I used to learn the best if I used to write it. So I used to write a lot. And once written, it used to be sort of highlighted in my own head that, you know, this topic is important, something like that. So you can just find that for your own self and prepare accordingly, right?
As we are talking about notes, so I think Madam will be uploading much of her notes also.
Yeah, on my blog, yes.
So she has opened her own blog where she can interact with aspirants directly. If you have any question, you can ask her directly on the blog. She will reply to that whenever she gets time. So there she is planning to upload much of her notes, whichever she finds.
Just to give you an idea of, you know, how do you go about by it. So we'll move on to the General Studies paper 2. What do we have in paper 2? First thing, polity. Governance, yes. International relations, yes. What else? Anything we are missing? Social justice, yes. GS2 and GS3 are those such papers where every question is going to demand a connection from the current affairs. Very rarely you will have a purely theoretical question coming up in GS2 and 3. This is what the pattern we are saying right since like 18, 19, even before that maybe, and for the last year's paper also. So GS2 and 3 is something very dynamic. Every question is demanding for you to connect it to current affairs, to contemporary happenings. So you have to prepare it that way. So there's one, we were just discussing, which was the most important thing that happened in the Indian polity in the last week. Yes, presidential elections. The highest constitutional post of the country, the president, and we had presidential elections. What becomes important for next year or for this year's mains? How the presidential elections happen. What is the electoral college? And GS2 also asks you comparison with different countries. So you can just go on to study how it happens in the US or in other countries. And you can sort of give it as an example in your answer. So you have to keep a tab on the current affairs and see how you can connect it to the theoretical aspects.
So while you're writing, for example, presidential election, So theoretical background which you should be knowing when it comes to mains. So while you are writing about presidential election, you should know from which constitution which we have adopted the election pattern. Have we adopted it from some country? Or is it a new pattern which India is following? So this will add value, too much of value to your answer. So these kind of background analysis, background knowledge you should have about all the topics which are happening in current affairs. Okay?
Then bills become very important. Whatever bill is drafted and whatever law is made, that becomes very important in that year's GS paper, or it would have happened last year, it becomes important for this year. So any important bill that India is discussing, you can think of data privacy. Data privacy, the committee, BN Sri Krishna committee, we had it when we also wrote it in the mains. So since then we are discussing over data privacy bill, and it has become more important day by day. So you can just go on discussing. There is good important websites, good relevant websites which you can refer to in this particular paper. In international relations, the changing scenario is definitely going to be asked. And what is the main pandemic the world was facing? COVID. So how do you connect the international relations with it? You can find out about the role of WHO. You can find out about the role of other international organizations, different nations. You can study about something called as GAVI. What is GAVI? There is this Global Alliance for Vaccines. How it is helping the underdeveloped and the developing countries in completing their demand for vaccines. So all of these aspects, we're just trying to drive home the fact that look into the current affairs, study the static part of it, prepare a good hold of it, and so you can write better answers on it. Yes? So
there is one more pattern. Most of the mains paper every year, so they will ask one or the other question related to international organization. So it might be UN Security Council or UNESCO, any organization for that matter. Major international organization will be covered in all the GS2 papers. At least one question, if you observe, it will be around 9th or 10th question, always. So international organizations become very important here. It's not only important for prelims. So prelims, you will take up a material which contains international organizations, you will just mug it up and you will reproduce it. It's not only there, so here also it's very important. And also coming to GS2, what I would like to say is, in other topics like GS3 and all, you can skip reading the standard textbooks like Ramesh Singh and all. So because it will be more of current affairs based. But in GS2, they will ask something related to static also. Just a president election like we are talking about president's election. So they might ask you ask you a part of question which will want you to write how president election is conducted in India. So they might ask you, explain how presidential election is conducted in India, or explain how what constitutes the electoral college of presidential election in India. And second part, they might ask something related to other country or something like this. So reading Lakshmikant becomes very important here. So don't skip reading Lakshmikant for GS2. So there will be something or other directly asked from the static part, and they will link it to the current affairs, as I told.
Fine then, any questions on GS2? Anything which you would like to ask?
Can somebody provide mic there?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Sir, my question is, sir, we are subscribed to coaching classes and all. They will make us to write the notes and all. Notes, sir, they will make us to write. So, there is a dilemma that if we have to rely on our coaching classes notes, or whether to go on all other books.
I attended a formal coaching and I found out that I had to make my own notes, yes. See, the study which you will do there in the class is important. But what is more important is when you come back home and you study those notes and then you try to answer a question from pre or mains. Are you able to do that from those notes?
If yes, you can completely rely on it. If no, you need to move on for your own kind of value addition to it. Got my point? Yes? So you are going to make your own notes there. Say, for example, somebody would explain to you or dictate to you, you'll write it down in your copy. Please go home, read it again. Does it make sense to you? Are you able to solve some question out of it? You won't be able to answer that on the same day. But when you complete that particular topic, that particular subject, and then you pick up on an answer, on a question, and you try attempting it. If you are able to do it, then well and good. If not, our goal is to crack the exam. All right? So we'll take this also, we'll take that also, we'll do 200% of what is required. So my message to you is, do not rely completely on a particular source. Make your own sources, make your own bank of data, make your own bank of notes, and that is much better.
So you can do like this if you have this doubt, if anybody has this kind of doubt. So what I would suggest is, coaching institutes, they would have announced what they are going to teach beforehand. Alla sir, munchene helirtare ಏನು class ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. So you should be able to read that first and then go and sit in the coaching class. So then pura like nimde ಏನು doubt ಇದೆ, it would have been cleared. You have already read, you have went to the class, you have sat there, you have understood what they are trying to explain, you have understood the concept, then you are making notes. So then you would have, then it suffices both your own preparation also and also coaching notes also. So this is what you can do. But if you are able to read the topic and then go sit in the class, so that will be the most beneficial thing which you will be doing for yourself. You would have completed the whole topic then and there itself.
But what happens is, practically it becomes a bit difficult sometimes. You don't get time to, beforehand do it and then sit. So you can just go there. If you can prepare a bit before on the topic, it will be really good. So in the class, it will be more beneficial for you. We'll move on to GS3. GS3 comprises first of Indian economy. What else? Science and technology. Somebody one louder. Agriculture, food processing industry, internal security, disaster management, environment. Yes. Yes. So if you see, a very interesting part about GS3 is, just put the syllabus on one side and put the paper on the other side. You will find more often than not, the series of the questions is actually following the series of the topics written in the syllabus. This really happens. So this is so nice that I am picking up this one topic from syllabus and I'm seeing a question, first question coming from there. Second, third, FPI, food processing industry, I'm getting a question out of it. The good part about GS3 is it is divided into a lot of different small topics. So there is not one vast thing that you have to go into. You have to prepare multiple topics and you have to go into it a bit. And one thing that becomes important in this paper is interconnection of arguments. So we were thinking of one example. You all know cryptocurrency. How can you connect cryptocurrency to more aspects of your syllabus? You can connect it to internal security. Very correct. What else? You can connect it to Indian economy. You can connect it to how it is impacting the finance of the country. So basically, you're taking a piece of technology and you're trying to connect it with security, Indian economy, finances, and other things. So this shows how you are able to mind map the different topics of the syllabus. And if these aspects can come out in your answer, in any argument or with any example, it will be really good. It will definitely fetch you more marks. Because the usual line of thought is we will try to follow what is there. But if you are able to give some good, important, new dimension to the question, then it is definitely going to help you fetch more marks. Another topic which we were discussing, recently which country legalized the growing of cannabis at home or anywhere like that? What was that country?
Thailand.
Thailand, yes. So is Thailand a part of something called as the Golden Triangle? Have you read? If not, you'll read eventually. There's something called as Golden Triangle. There are 3 countries in it. Yes?
Yeah.
So we have Thailand, we have Laos, and we have
Myanmar.
We have Myanmar. So, can you connect the legalization of cannabis with the trade parts of that particular drugs, with illicit trafficking of drugs, with internal security threat to the country? We can do that. So what we are doing, something international relation news, we are connecting it with internal security of the country, and we can also connect it to how it will impact the culture. Anything. So basically we are trying to mind map different topics of the syllabus using that one particular thing in news. And that will really enhance the marks in your answer. That will really show that there is multi-dimensionality of the topics which you can show.
So here I would like to add so what I had done. So what I would tell all the aspirants, those who are writing mains and maybe writing next year. So don't do any mistakes in your answers. Like if you don't know, so then don't write it. So don't write something which is wrong or which you are not sure of. This is what I had done. In our mains, we had got a question related to this, related to golden triangle and golden crescent. So I was confused between Thailand and Cambodia. Laos, Myanmar I knew. I was confused between Thailand and Cambodia. I had drawn a big map and all, and I had written Cambodia. So I am theoretically wrong there. So no matter how much I explain, so I am wrong. The whole question is gone. They might give me 2-3 marks out of 15 maybe. Though my answer is proper, the analysis and the solutions or whatever which I have written is proper. So I don't know which country I was confused between which country forms the part of golden triangle. So sometimes this happens. So not everybody can remember everything. Sometimes this happens to everyone. So then please don't mention. You can just mention that golden triangle in the Southeast Asia. You know that Southeast Asia. So when you are not sure, don't mention anything. So don't commit that mistake which will take away the whole marks of the one single question. So it might have costed me 4-5 marks. 4-5 marks is 40-50 ranks and also do 2-3 services in UPSC. So that is the importance of each and every mark.
All right. Any questions on this part of the syllabus? Yes. Yeah. Somebody can just pass on the mic in the front. Acha, okay. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. Ma'am, my question is that we just mentioned that there is an interlinking of topics between GS 1, 2, and 3, right? So if, for example, in GS 1, there is a question that is asked on economic development, then should our answer be more inclined towards the historical and geographical aspects, or should it be more towards the economic aspects, which is nothing but GS 3?
So telling that the question is on economic part.
Yes.
So you know that it's on economic development part. You should address the economic development part mainly in your question. So as you told historical and other dimensions, you should just give a touch of that in your answer. So maybe in your introduction or in your conclusion or somewhere in between interlinking of paragraphs. So that's what you can do, but you should majorly touch upon the economic development.
We'll talk about this when we'll take up answer writing specifically. Just after GS4, we'll now be discussing about how to handle the questions.
Sure.
There I'll answer this in detail.
Thank you.
Here somebody wanted to ask. Could you just pass on the mic?
More mics if possible. One more. No, it's okay. They can just circulate.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How to recollect the data and example on the day of examination? I had a very good example and data, but on the day of examination, I wrote very simple answer. I don't know.
2 words for it: revision and practice.
In test series, I used a data example, but on the day of examination...
We'll talk about it. We'll take up answer writing.
Answer writing,
we'll
we'll touch about how to
There are just 2 words for all these things. There are a lot of questions that I have been also getting over after this election when you interact with aspirants. हम पढ़ते तो हैं मैम, but हम भूल जाते हैं. We read, but we forget. Obviously, you will forget. We all will forget. We're not computer programs. Enter it, save it. don't delete it, it will be there. It will be somewhere there, but not in the recollection, this thing. So we'll talk about revision and practice.
Hello ma'am, hello sir.
Anything specific to GS3?
Not specific, actually I'm a degree student and I started my preparation and I'm usually going to give exams after 2 or 3 years. My question is, how should I prepare so that I can maintain my degree as well as...
We'll come to journalistic questions later.
Yours.
Yeah? Anything specific to GS3? If not,
we'll be touching upon all these things when we take up
GS3,
answer writing.
maybe we are writing most of the report suggestions and all. So while we are writing the answers, so we couldn't able to figure out which report has to be written and how much, what are the points to be written in that answer writing. So how to deal with that?
all right, point taken. We'll address this when we address answer writing. These are all components of that. We'll move on to GS4 now. GS4 appears to be a bit different, and yes, it is different. It is not the usual editorial kind of history, geography kind of a subject which you can connect what is happening in polity with economy there. No. It is different, it is, and I did not know, but it is, yes, it is scoring. Out of all my GS papers, I scored the highest in GS4, which I was underconfident about. But then when I went through what I had done and how I was able to score, I realized that you know that there are two parts of GS4. Yes, the first is the A part, which we have is we have theoretical aspects, we have concepts, we have ethical values, we have terms and terminologies and key terms, we have quotations, yes. And in the second part of the GS4, we have case studies. So case studies also, we'll talk about case studies, but before that, how do you prepare for this subject? You first read the entire syllabus. You first find out what are the different key terms that are mentioned in the syllabus, and then you make your own set of whatever things, notes, whatever you find on that particular topic, on that particular key term.
I would like to say GS4, most of you must have noticed there is no set textbook or source which you can say this is the book. So you don't have any such book for GS4. When it comes to ethics, so there is lexicon which everybody will buy and nobody will read. So this is...
We'll read it, but we'll not complete it.
We'll not complete it because it is very factual and very theoretical.
Very in-depth.
Not everybody will understand it in a very easy manner. And there are other books which has just focused on examples and not on theory part. So there is no one particular book which will give you everything. Not like, there is no book like Lakshmikant or Ramesh Singh or Spectrum or Shankar IAS or this kind of a book. This makes it difficult. As she was saying, so here you should be able to make your own notes. Pick up a topic. It might be a word called integrity. Make your own definition. Read so many, there are so many sources. You just Google, there are so many definitions you will come up with. Understand it. So then make your own definition of it. Make your own examples of it. And try to take up some quote regarding that and note down that. So I say make your own notes for each and every individual topic. I think this is what we have done also.
This is the starting point of the preparation for GS4. You have objectivity. Now what is objectivity? How is it different from non-partisanship? What is emotional intelligence? What are the different concepts of emotional intelligence? What is work culture? How is integrity different from honesty? So these are the kind of questions you'll find, and for that you need to understand that particular concept very properly. And ethics is not just about those concepts, it is about the real life application of that concept or some example which you can find of that particular concept. Because we are not going to, it's not a theoretical paper. Basically GS4 has come very recently in the entire UPSC pattern. And what it wants you to do is it needs to have you a mental framework. So when you go on field to work, you have those ethical concepts in your head which should guide you for your day-to-day decisions. So GS4 is more about the practical life which you will be going to face and what mental framework you need to have on that. So you start by making some notes of the ethical concepts that you can do for the first part of the paper. Another thing which is asked in this is the quotations. So we get confused, how do you elaborate the quotations? For that, one and only one word, practice. Take up a quotation, anything. Start from the quotation of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Because every year you're going to have a question on Mahatma Gandhi ji. Every year you're going to have a quotation somewhere in essay paper, somewhere in GS1 or 4. Take up some quotation. Just think what are the different dimensions that are coming to your head in that. Just see how you can connect some real life example to what he is talking in that particular subject. Can you give some example of an officer? Can you give some real life example which you have seen, some social media thing you would have seen? Can you quote it in your answer? Can you connect something which you saw in some movie, some poem you read, some philosopher's life you read? So you need to connect that example part of it, the real life example part of it, to the theoretical concept which you are reading, right? And when it comes to case study, so case study, there are different questions which we have in case study. Sir also gave me a list of those. So I'll try to address that. How do you begin answering a case study? What is a case study exactly? It is a real life situation. Yes? So they'll tell you that you are, say, a district collector, or you are, say, a police officer, you are a doctor, you are a teacher, you are a something like that. And you will be put in a situation. You will be given that, you know, this and all these things are happening. What will be your decision? What will be the different aspects, different dilemmas that you will face in that particular situation? And you need to give your own answer. That is all. That is case study. So I always say that you can first start with identifying the stakeholders. What do you mean by stakeholders in a case study? Those people who are taking the decisions, those people who will be impacted by that decision. Anybody who is directly or indirectly party to that particular case, they become your stakeholder. Is that correct? So I will be also discussing at flagged one case study from the book. This you will find in the chapter Q&A analysis. I'll read out the case study to you and we'll sort of try to solve it together. Is that okay? Yes. So the question goes like this. You are an officer in charge of transfer and posting of personnel of a particular department. What are you? In charge of transfer and posting. This position is very difficult, mainly for two reasons. One, people closer to the power corridor try to influence you. Now try to identify the key term in this statement. People closer to the power corridor try to influence you. Can you tell me the key word here? Power corridor and influence. Got it? Women officers often send requests to postpone transfer orders on the pretext of family responsibilities. I'll read it again. Women officers often send requests to postpone transfers orders on the pretext of family responsibility. What is the key term here? What is to catch here? Women officers and family responsibilities. And requests. Requests. Final sentence of this question is, consider the following situations and give your views with suitable explanations. Now there are three parts of the question. A cabinet minister sends a DO letter. Do you understand a DO letter? DO means a demi-official letter. Demi-official is basically they will address with their own hands. They'll write dear.
You might have seen like Prime Minister writing letters to so many people. You social media nodirtira. So he will like dear dash dash or respected dash dash. Then few
like
paragraph.
Recently,
Then end mein his sign. So that is those are DO letters.
Yeah.
They are not official communication, but they are kind of a personal communication between two official people.
Yeah. So a cabinet minister sends a DO letter to you regarding posting of an official on a supposedly lucrative assignment. So before I read the option, the part that we had read, can you identify the stakeholders there? Tell me. The first stakeholder, officer in charge of transfer and posting. Anybody else you find? Anybody? Women officer. Anything else? Family of women officers. No, I'm just considering that one paragraph that we read first. Options we'll see later. So in the opening part of this case study, what you can do is, you can just write the role. You can do some role analysis of that post. So let's do some role analysis. So I'm in charge of transfer and posting. What I will be expected to do? What am I expected to do? Just think rationally. You are made a person who's in charge of the transfer and posting in your state. What should be the things that should be guiding you? What is the expectation of that post? Transparency. You should be able to post the best officer at the best place. Yes? You are like the HR manager. You are basically posting people where they are required. Everybody has different skill sets. You are seeing that if this particular region, you want a woman officer to be posted over here, or you want some particular person who is very good in that particular area and it has some issues of water conservation. Let's post this person because he has some previous experience. So these are kind of theoretical aspects of that particular post. You can start with that the main important stakeholder in this is the person who's in charge of the transfers and posting, and he or she will be expected to this. Now, one thing which you should really remember in case study is you need to go back and refer to the ethical concepts. You cannot keep it just like a story. You cannot keep it like an anecdote. So when you told transparency, yes. When you told all of that words that were there in our syllabus, those words should be coming in our case study. So it shows that this person is aware how to connect the real life situation with the ethical concept that he or she has studied. Getting the point? So we opened up like that. So I'll just write down what I had written here. Being a civil servant, adherence to public service values of impartiality, integrity, transparency, as well as efficient duty is of paramount importance. Since this posting makes one vulnerable to pressure, careful analysis and objective decisions can ensure effective discharge of duty. So you will find that this sentence is a lot of wrapped up in keywords. What I have done is I have picked up all the keywords, whatever is relevant to this situation. I've picked up transparency, I've picked up objectivity, I've picked up the effective discharge of duty. So this shows that I'm aware what subject of paper I'm writing, and then I'm telling you what this particular person will do in that, or what the stakeholder role analysis is. Now let us see the question. A cabinet minister sends a DO letter to you regarding posting of an official on a supposedly lucrative assignment, for which you may have already decided about the name of a more competent officer and with a good track record for honesty, integrity, probity and timely delivery. What will you do? You understood the situation? There is a cabinet minister. So the keyword is cabinet minister. Cabinet minister has his own hierarchical importance. That person has sent you a DO letter for a lucrative assignment for some person for which you've already decided a name. And the person which you have decided the name of is a person who is honest and integrity and everything. What will you do? So can you develop some options for it? Can you tell me how will you go about by it? Anyone can just stand up. Anything.
Mains going people.
Anything. Whatever that hits your head.
So this requires listening to the concerns, and he must try to balance between the listening to his higher-ups. We must examine the pros and cons of both. Listening to the higher-ups in the hierarchical rank, and also without compromising on the post, whatever he is posting for.
Yes.
So we must include, from the syllabus, we must include the persuasive capacity of the, we must try to persuade the cabinet minister based on logical arguments and the positive points it brings with the posting of the person who has
Okay. That could be one option, yes. But when you find a request of some person and you're getting it from a cabinet minister, I'm not sure if we are in a negotiating position or in a position where we give some arguments. But you are responsible for your own thing. You are the person whose signature is going to be there in that order. So while we are given that charge, what you should best do, you should think about who is the best person to be there in that post. And what I would suggest, which I have suggested in the book, is in this scenario, the minister is trying to make a kind of an undue influence by his authority and proposing a name without any objective criteria. That maybe the person is also competent, the one he or she is proposing. But you have already decided a person who is honest, who has integrity, and who is competent with a good track record. So what you can do is, in these kind of questions, you can develop your options. Like one option is that Another option is what I am telling you. And another thing, you should think for yourself what you think. Whatever you write in there, that should be without compromising on all those ethical concepts which you have studied in your first part of the paper. So there is no complete black and white in the ethics paper. But it is very important to hold on to the ethical values and to the values that particular post wants you to uphold. If you are a police officer and you have to decide, it wants you to uphold the values of the police officer. If you are a district collector, it wants to uphold that. So you have to first stick to the position. That is why we do the role analysis. Because we first delineate that, this is his role. This is his or her role. And then we try to give the options. Fine? Got a kind of a picture? Anything which you would like to ask on this? We'll go to the
Ma'am, whether all such options should be optimistic and way forward-looking, or can I give extreme options also, like accepting cabinet minister's advice?
Yes. This is a very good question. What I used to do when I used to develop options, I used to start with the worst option, which I will not select. But I will tell that I am aware of this option. So in this particular question, you can start by giving that this is one option. You can move on to second, third. You can develop such 3 options. And then at the end, you can say, I am going to select the third option, which is holding on the values of the post. Right?
Generally, these kind of questions, they would have written, what are the options do you have? So then you should be able to write all the options. Even if it is the worst possible option, you should be right. What and all options you will have. So they will ask you, what are the options? What options do you have in this kind of situation and what will you choose? Or they might directly ask you, what will you choose? Then you should not go on listing this and all. So if they have directly asked you what you should choose, then you should directly write the answer. But generally they will ask you, what are the options does the officer have? So what does he or she should do in that option? So they will delineate and ask. So that will be there in the question.
Right. So and always try to connect some theory that you've written. There are a lot of theories, utilitarianism. Utilitarianism. Then you have ends versus means debate, whether ends are important or means are important. So if you can connect that particular concept in a case study, it will be really good.
Quick question. And also when it comes to ethics, time management becomes very important. So this is one paper in GS where there is a lot to write, but you will, so many people will end up missing out on few questions because there are 2 parts. Part A is quotes and this kind of a thing. Second part is case studies. Part A will have 130 marks. Part B will have 120 marks, if I'm not wrong. So part B will have 6 questions. Part A will have 13 questions. Okay? So it is 130 and 120. What I would suggest is divide it according to the marks. You cannot divide it like case study I will write for 1.5 hours and another 1.5 hours I'll write the part A. Here like you are giving half of your time to 45% of your marks. So then you'll have to write the other 55% in another half time. So don't do like this. Give it time according to marks. So it should be like 3 hours is 180 minutes and how much marks? 250.
250, yes.
So it should be 7 minutes for 10 marks, kind of a thing.
Generally it comes down to that. 10 markers require 7 minutes, 15 markers require 11 minutes, 20 markers require 14 minutes.
That's all.
So this could be the thing for you.
You should have your watch there. So you should be looking at the watch after every question. Somewhere you will go beyond 1 or 2 minutes beyond for a particular question.
But you should not overshoot beyond that. Because if you're taking up more question to answer a question that you know, then you're taking away time from other questions which you may also attempt and know. So do not take more time for answering that question. Yeah.
Hi sir, hi ma'am. So for example, there is a sentence, abortion is legal but unethical.
Yeah.
So when we look at the unethical part, it is related to religious values that we cannot kill a person. And when we look at the law part, abortion is legal because it's the right of a woman to terminate her pregnancy or not. So there is a conflicting interest between both these points. So in such questions, what should be the answer? What should be our answer about?
See, in these kind of topics, it's always controversial. So both side of arguments has their own positives and negatives. So you'll always have to balance it out. You'll have to come to the middle path. So you should support both the arguments, and also you should also list out the negatives of both the arguments. For example, if you come to the legal perspective, so you can mention that abortion is legal till it is 20 weeks of pregnancy. So generally medical what it happens after 20 weeks, we say that the child is viable, right? If the right term. Huh? Now they have increased, but 28, maybe, whatever it is. So,
but sir, after 24 weeks also, we can terminate the pregnancy if the fetus has any abnormalities.
If the Supreme Court permits, right?
That is, there are different, abortion ke liye there are 5 different reasons under which you can abort a baby. So, usme this, as you told, malformity of a baby. So, it comes under a particular, this one, legal provision only. So, it is legally this one because even if the child is born, so it will be...
the quality of life of the child cannot be ensured.
Cannot be assured. And then also if it affects the health of the mother, that's also a thing.
Yes.
So even if the child, if it affects the health of the mother...
And you know, this is a debate which is definitely very, very relevant because of the recent laws that are passed in the United States. So that definitely has an implication. Please go back. The very current kind of developments in the abortion laws is not something which we are very much aware of. But I will suggest that you go back and read what is there in the US, what is there in the country, what are the different debates. See, in the ethics paper, more than reaching to a final conclusion of an ethical standpoint, it is important to recognize the dilemmas that are involved. If you do that in the major part of the question, it shows that this person is aware of what all viewpoints he or she needs to keep in his head while deciding. So the end point, you don't have to say that, you know, it's good that this abortion law is banned in US or it is bad. You don't have to give a conclusion always. You should, more important is you bring out the different dilemmas that are there. The word in the UPSC syllabus is ethical dilemmas. So it's important to bring out that, how the health of the mother can be affected or how the quality of life of the child is affected, you know, something like that. So these kind of ethical situations you should come out with. It's not hard and fast to weigh in on one side of the topic.
You should balance it out, come to the, even if you take some stand, you should also list out the positives of the other stand also as well. So you can take any stand.
As we told, it's more important to recognize the dilemmas. Okay?
Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the final part, which is the writing answers part. We were stressing...
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Here, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಧಾನ.
Okay, sir. ನಿಧಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. Means we should always support the government, or we should support our points here. Means in the previous case study, right? We already had have our choice, but cabinet minister is suggesting something. So there are two choices, right? If we support the government, it's our incompetence. If we support ourselves, we are against government. So anyhow, there is a dilemma, but we have to come to the conclusion, right?
Yeah. The question that you're asking is very relevant.
Day to day.
Do we support the government in our answers? And I would like to answer it for all the papers. There'll be a lot of questions where there'll be some kind of a scheme, anything which is there in the news, and you will be expected to either support or critique it.
Critically analyze.
Please understand, when we are writing a paper, it's not like we are standing in the shoes of a journalist or an activist. Ultimately, we are writing the paper to be a bureaucrat. And the simple meaning of that is, it's not like you have to blindly support the government. You can bring out the critical aspects of the government policy. But when I say critical, it should be a constructive criticism. It should, while she was asking, do we have to give some optimistic point out? Yes. If you can say that this policy has these loopholes, these are some of the downsides of this policy, please tell how you can correct it. As a government officer, it will not be black and white for you, right? You are going to implement the policy. You know that some people are not getting the good benefit. What you can do best for the people? How you can bring out, so you know that government has limited resources, limited people, limited funds. How do you manage in that? So if you are giving some critique, please also give some way out for it. Try to think that if I am given this kind of resource, this kind of limited thing, how I will manage in that situation. So yes, you can give a criticism of the policy, you can, but it should be constructive, is what I feel.
Thanks, ma'am.
So then, yeah.
Regarding
just use the mic, yeah.
Drawing the reference from any mythological stories, wasn't that like picturize our answers affiliated to some particular ideologies? That's like.
See, you're just, see, there is nothing like wrong ideology or wrong concept. Whatever you're mentioning, you're just giving it as an example to support your argument. That's what your question is, right?
Yes.
So that you need not worry that it will showcase you in a particular idealistic or this kind of. So when as a bureaucrat or as a civil servant, you are always neutral whenever it comes. You will use both any side of or any kind of this one to support any argument. So you're just using it to support your argument.
So basically, it's not like my entire ideology is that. I'm using it to support my argument in the answer. That is absolutely acceptable.
Ma'am, which examples draws more weightage to the answer? Like political recently happened, or for example, in essay, if one asks about honesty, one could give example of betraying the honesty, from Ravana, or someone gives an example of Lal Bahadur Shastri. Which one gives more weightage? Like which one fetches our marks more?
Lesser the political, better it is.
Okay.
So any mythological.
And you know, this is also difficult to answer. We don't get to see our answer sheets. That is right. So what we have written in the answer, we don't know which particular question, how many marks we've gotten. All this is a big mystery. So what we can tell you is use examples. Better to use contemporary examples. That shows a relevant connect with the real life. If at all you're using anything else, any mythological texts, any accepted texts that are there in our country, it's also good. It shows that you're drawing reference from your historical or mythological point of view and you're connecting it with the real life.
Again, the focus point is not example. The focus point is
argument.
The ethical value. Whatever you're like.
The ethical value.
I think you were talking about betrayal.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong.
So there is a fear that if a person gives more realistic or
see, there are
no such fear.
So if you are using any contemporary example, it be either legally backed by any court judgments or essay. So if it is just a theory running around, don't use it.
Just anybody has written an editorial thinking like that? No.
Ramayana is accepted as a mythology, as a Hindu, this one holy text. So that is seen as a mythology. That will not be seen as a in a contemporary manner. So that you can use. That is better example.
Yeah.
Because here that's not example is not the main focus point. Here the focus point is the value or something which you are talking about.
And you had used another word, the leader's name. If something of that sort is not legally an accepted fact or something like that, an accepted theory, then it might backfire also. So use a settled fact. Use a settled fact as your reference. That's all.
Anything controversial, try to avoid.
Then moving on to final part of the entire session, writing answers. The book Answer Writing Manual is entirely about that. It walks you through the preparation. We stressed so much on each and every paper. We tried to open up different aspects of the paper because, as I told you, the more organized your preparation will be, the more organized your answers will come out to be.
Coming to the book, so we wanted to keep a book reading or book related session. So where we should keep first anta ittu. So now obviously Bangalore or Madam Bangalore ledana anta first Bangalore bandvi. So here we would I would like to say in the book mainly whatever we have discussed now it is there. So mainly we have tried to teach the aspirants, particularly those who have doubts in answer writing. So many will be, maybe they would know already how to write answer, good answer and all. So it's good. So for those who have doubts with mains preparation and answer writing, so we wanted to address it in a very simplistic manner. So that is the reason behind coming out with this book. So here we have tried to teach we have tried to teach the aspirants how to write an answer. There are few model essays, there are few model answers and all. So if you give model answers, so it is just like giving another example. So there which you will read and you will understand, okay, TK, this is how this answer should be. But you will not learn how to write the answer. So the main idea of the book is to teach and clear doubts of the aspirants of writing an answer, how you should write an answer when it comes to UPSC. Let me tell you, it is very easy. You clearing mains in UPSC, I would say prelims is much more difficult. So if I write prelims 100 times, with preparation I might fail 40-50 times or more than that. But if I write 100 times mains, now I can confidently say that more than 75 times I will definitely clear mains. So that is because I have understood the way of writing answer. Even if I don't have very good content, but even with the average content, I can clear mains. Because I have understood how to write, how to read the question, how to understand it, how to write, and what to write, what not to write. So this is the main idea which we have wanted to bring it out, which we have written in the book. So which we want to explain now also for you guys. Pick up a question or so. So because it runs for 6-7 chapters, the main gist of how to write the answer. So we thought we'll take some previous year question paper. So both of us will take 1 or 2 question. We'll explain how to read the question, how to write it, how you should go about. And the book we have explained it very in depth, how you should take every individual subject, every individual question, how you should read and all. But now we'll just give an example of one question or 2.
So I'll pick up one question from GS1.
These are UPSC questions.
These are UPSC previous year question that we've got here. I'll read it to you. I want you to find out what are the keywords in the question, and then also try to understand what are the major factors. See, always read the question twice. Got it? You're reading a sentence for the first time, read it twice. Then underline the keywords which you find in the question. There is a question directive which is there. You know what are question directives? Analyze, critically analyze, examine, describe, explain, elaborate. All of that also I have covered in one of the chapters. What do we include differently in each of it? So the question goes, the life cycle of a joint family depends on economic factors rather than social values. Discuss.
So this is GS paper 1 of 2014. So we don't know. This is the first time we are seeing the question. Nimtara, we are seeing the question for the first time.
So can you tell me? I'll repeat the question for you twice, right? The life cycle of a joint family depends on economic factors rather than social values. Discuss. What are the keywords? Joint family, yes. Economic factors. Then social values. Anything else? Life cycle. That's the focus point. If I talk about joint family, no. It's the life cycle of a joint family. What do you mean by life cycle of a joint family? Just think. 2 people get married, have kids, then their kids get married, have kids, and stay in the same home. That is joint family. Extension. So life cycle of a joint family depends on economic factors rather than social values, and it is discussed. Can you think of the arguments? Can you think of some economic factors? So basically, there is this. Yeah.
Will anybody explain us what have you understood by the question? What you should write?
What did you understand of the question? You can
what you should write in this question? Anybody? Be confident.
We are just sharing this.
Nobody is judging you.
Yeah,
UPSC
please.
only will judge you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike.
So here they have asked to discuss. So like we can introduce by saying that in present times we are finding lot of reduced number of joint families or like extended families. We are going more into nuclear families. We can quote some fact or data, and then the factors, the economic factors, like in a globalized world, economy is playing a role to sustain that kind of family. And if that is not happening, then we can think of some argument. But the focus point is that social values, since it has reduced, so that is leading to more disintegration. And then we can conclude with saying that like it is, as compared to other countries, we still have like in a family we have like parents, like at least 2 generations are living, as compared to like US, let's say. I think.
Okay. So we're all learning, and let me read you the question again. The life cycle of a joint family depends on economic factors rather than social values. The question is trying to drive you in the direction that the life cycle of the family, whether it will be joint, whether it will be nuclear, depends on economic factors than social values. That is the flow of the question that is given to us. Yeah.
I have a point. So in the social values where in the patriarchal society, the women are not able to work in the patriarchal mindset. So most of the women stay at home. But the economic factors, if the family needs to sustain, they need to work. So the social value should overcome the economic value should overcome the social value. So division of labor should be done.
See, what we think, that is all. See, we are all discussing what we think the question is. We're all right now talking about the arguments. I'm just asking the framework of the question, the framework of the answer.
Sir, in olden days, there is a joint family because of depends on only agriculture life. So, but nowadays, completely depends upon globalizations and company private sectors. So that's why, so nuclear family is dividing from the olden days family. That's my point, madam.
That's your point on economic.
I'll tell you. So if they had asked the question, the life cycle of the joint family depends on the economic factors. Explain. Rather than social factors, explain. Then you would have written this. It is discuss. You'll have to discuss. So this is what the main. That's why we were asking you people.
This is the basic thing. In answer writing, you don't have to write what you know.
You have
to write what is expected to be written by the examiner in that answer. And that is where we sort of go away from the question. We think we have written full, we've filled 2 pages, we've written all the arguments, still we're not getting marks. So it is all about understanding what the examiner wants from us. What is the flow which he or she is asking us to be put on the paper. Yes?
See, I'll tell you, out of 10,000 people who write mains, almost all of them are equally well-read. They know all the concepts, they know all the facts, they know all the figures. At least 8,000 of them are equally competent to, when it comes to knowledge, they're equally competent. But the key is answer writing. How do you read the question? How do you understand? That's why we took up some random question. It is some random question which requires analysis. So now I think Srushti will explain what she understood from this question.
I'll just tell you what my mental framework is regarding this question.
How the question answer should go. So then you will understand what you are thinking, what she is thinking, because she is tried and tested and she has topped. So what you are thinking, where you are going wrong.
So this is just my mental framework, what I would drive from this question, okay? So it is the life cycle of a joint family. Depends on economic factors rather than social values. Question is driving you that the joint family is driven by economic factors, less by social factors, more by economic factors. That is the viewpoint of the survival of the joint family. That is the viewpoint of the question. So the major line of thought in your answer or the major part of the answer should be this. We will provide the other viewpoint that no, social is also important or this is also there. But the major flow of the answer should be on these lines. How will you open up this question? How will you introduce? What will you use to introduce? Like he was telling. He was correct. He was telling that we'll sort of talk about the life cycle of a joint family, how it is changing, how it is prevalent in this. This is a topic of Indian society. So when you read the Sociology 11-12 textbook, you will find some of the other theoretical concepts of joint family in it. You can open up your answer by that. You can tell what do you mean by life cycle. You may draw a simple flow chart also there. Nuclear, this, anything, whatever factors you can think of. Then you can list out how economic factors are having a major role in impacting the life cycle. See, that's the basic expectation of the question. That's the line of thought they're asking you to do. So then you can go on, like he was telling, like she's also told a correct point, that, you know, women are moving out. So for example, I'm living in a village. Now I need to work. I need to find work in Bangalore. What I'll do, I'll move out with my husband to Bangalore. And if I have kids there, I have a nuclear family. So this economic factor that I am joining a job in Bangalore has impacted the life cycle of my family? Yes. We know that urbanization is increasing in our country. Yes. So this urbanization which is increasing, impacting the economic factor, thereby impacting the life cycle.
The main question argument here is what your flow of thought should be. Joint family, whether it will survive or not, in most of the cases, it will depend on the economic factors. Economic factors, matlab the earning of the family together, individually. Some family might be earning more than others, so then there is inequality, then there is friction. So this is what the flow of thought in the question. You should be able to support this because it is more or less true. And you should, as she was telling, you should also highlight the social factors which will in our country.
Then next you can put on the social factor. First we elaborated on the the economic factors. Then we talk about the social factors. How social factors play a role. How do they play a role? Say for example, a person really wants his son to stay with him. I want my son to be with me. It's a social value. It's something that he has learned from over the generations. So he's expecting that. So that's a social thing which is impacting the life cycle. Many a times kids don't leave their house, kids don't go out because they feel that they need to take care of the family, stay there where they are, even if it is in the village. Right? That's a social value. So taking out both those aspects, but trying to understand what is the flow of thought which is expected in that particular question.
So this is what differentiates between those who could clear, those who couldn't. It's all about catching the point in the question and writing the answer. So this is what will make you clear mains. Prelims is totally, it is upon your knowledge base. So these kind of questions here, you will not find much data. You will not find much data from your any year-long compilation or any like this one, sociology textbooks. Here it's all about analysis, understanding the question, analyze the question and come out with the right answer. So he started with a right introduction, but his flow of thought was not in the right direction for this question. So she came up with a point, he came up with a point, he came up with a point. They are arguments. They are not the answers. They are just arguments.
We will include those arguments, but we will mold the structure of the answer the way it is expected in that question.
And also you mentioned about India, one minute. So you mentioned about it's in our country. Here they have not mentioned in India. They have not mentioned the country.
So you can use, no, it is not mentioned India. So you can use a global perspective, correct.
You should
that is something you can do. If it is particularly mentioned India, let's stick to India. If there is an open question, let us use international context
and here
also.
the question is discuss. What he was telling is explain. If it was explain, then you could have written in that manner. If it is discuss, you will have to discuss here.
You can give both the positive, the other
negative.
side of it.
So you can take the other way around also. You can say that no, social values are more important than economic factors. You can take that point. So here it is discuss. So, but you'll have to back
Stick
up your
majorly. You have to back up with it.
Ma'am, here can we write the dependency of economic factors on life of joint family and how it is declining the social values? So we can write here.
You can use those arguments. Arguments is something which we all can have different ones. Only thing which we are trying to drive home is that we need to understand the flow of the question which is there. Right? We'll take up.
Ma'am.
Sir.
Yeah.
Here, can we quote Karl Marx?
Yeah, you can.
Those who talked about base structure.
If it is supporting your argument,
yes,
then you can use
If
it.
you're a student of sociology
Yes,
and you've read Karl Marx, and if you think he's helping out to tell you something how economic factor is, you know, kind of dominating, you definitely can use it. We'll pick up one from 2019.
We'll pick up some question from CSE 2019.
GS3.
GS3. It's a big question. The public expenditure management is a challenge to the government of India in the context of budget making during the post-liberalization period. Clarify it. This is the question. Again, I'll read it. The public expenditure management. So this is one keyword. Is a challenge. Challenge is a keyword to the government of India. So that's also a keyword in the context of budget making. So during the post-liberalization period, clarify it.
Clarify.
So this is the question word, clarify.
Clarify. That means they are asking you to stick to what they have told you. They're not asking you to create some other argument of yours just for the sake of bringing arguments. They are telling, we are giving you a statement, clarify it. Give more arguments on it. Give some data on it. Give some examples on it. So this is what the directive will do. The directive will give you the hint on how to develop your answer. If it was discussed here, you could have given ki no, this is not, you know, this is also there, that is also there. Here it's clarify.
Anybody would want to try? I will repeat question again.
Somebody from the back, yeah. You can start and then we can hand over to you.
This is not test of anybody, but we are just trying to explain how generally people tend to think and how you should think.
Yes.
Post-liberalization, there was many FDIs coming in, foreign direct investments, and many industries coming up. So they had to manage all these, all the investments in all these sectors. So there was a lot of things to be included in the budget, and this can be added as a point.
It is an argument.
You told that FDI is coming, so a lot of things we have to invest in budget, right? It may be the other way also. If the investments are coming in one sector, I as a budget maker will think that if FDI is driving in, I can drive my own funds to some place where FDI is not coming in, right? Do you get this point? So we're talking about budget making in the context of post-liberalization period. So here the background of the answer is post-liberalization period. You're not talking about the pre-liberalization period. What happens post-liberalization is correct. He told one aspect, FDI. You can add on? How will you begin this answer? You can tell about post-liberalization. That could be the background of the question. You can open up with it. Then?
I will come directly to the body of the answer. Means main theme is the public expenditure here. So after liberalization means foreign players also coming into play in India. So we have to manage our budget in such a manner that we have to elevate our poverty, and we have to empower women and those sectors. They are just a revenue expenditure. Means it won't means the expenditure spent on one time. It's a revenue expenditure, right? Along with that, we have to manage the capital expenditure also in other perspective. So we need to in my opinion, we need to compare the both aspects. So where we are falling short. So how we manage.
Falling short, not majorly in this question, because if I'll read it again,
Means,
public.
We'll read the question again.
Yeah.
The public expenditure management is a challenge to government of India in the context of budget making during the post-liberalization period. Clarified.
Means we are getting the fiscal deficit, right? Every year the fiscal deficit is growing. Means we have to concentrate on there.
It's not about fiscal deficit. It's about expenditure. There
Because
is capital, there is revenue.
Okay, fine. Got the point. Because of expenditure, we are creating that amount of fiscal deficit. Yes. So the idea is that these arguments can be included. Flow of the thought is clarifying, supporting the statement which is given to us. Let us open our question with post-liberalization. Let us tell them what happened in post-liberalization. Let us talk briefly about what budget making is. There you can quote what the current budgets are. You can quote historically what 2000, 2015 or the latest budget had. How it has incorporated the different aspects of, say, FDI, which he was talking about. Yes.
So this is the last question. So then we'll.
Hello. Hi, ma'am. Hello, sir. So like I thought of a structure which starts from not from defining what the budget or is. I would directly start from my intro as like what is public expenditure. Like I would define that, like what does it handle. And since they asked about like post-liberalization, that's after LPG reforms. So in my body, I would start with like saying that private handlers will have like more money in their hand, and that is being a like burden to the like budget making process, because the government would lack or there will be like deficient with some amount of money. That money is being compensated by the private players. So there like government is trying to government is struggling to get out the like the social welfare schemes policies, because they have like less budget, because the private players are having the more budget. So I would write these points in the like body, and since they are told to like clarify in the question, so I would conclude it as like saying that like minimum amount of government involvement and like maximum of governance can be used, like along with the using of private players in the market.
What one I really liked in your this thought is minimum government, maximum governance.
So that is the key here.
This is the key word. This
key.
definitely helps in conclusions. You can use such kind of keywords. It gives a good weightage to your set of arguments.
This has an hidden argument also, that so the government has to move away from public sectors, because post-liberalization, private sectors are taking up the market. So there is much competition. The government should move away from public sector investment, and they should look into the social sector. So this is a hidden argument also. So this you should address. This is the hidden argument behind the whole question.
This is where your reading of the economic survey, your reading of the budget is definitely going to help you out.
So that's why I stressed upon post-public expenditure management, challenge to government in the context of budget making, post-liberalization period. So this is the hidden thing in this question, which you should be able to address. This is what we wanted to explain to you guys by taking 1-2 questions. What you should be able to address, what you should be thinking when you are reading the question paper, because everybody knows facts.
We can also add about the challenges posed to the budget making before and after liberation. Like the aid what we got from IMF had conditionalities. It came with some fiscal discipline which we had to adhere to, like FRBM Act, and recently we had to breach the FRBM Act by around 2% of GDP, that we can quote. And
that's a very good correct argument.
Because of this WTO and all these alignments after this post-liberalization, we have an eye on Indian economy giving a lot of subsidies. But because of COVID and other things in the conditions back in the home, we have a lot of need for more social sector expenditure in the social sector. But for subsidies, we already have issues.
That is the line of your argument should be in this answer. So this is what it takes to clear mains. It's about how do you read, how do you understand, how do you process it in your mind, how do you come up with arguments. So this is what is much more required in your answer writing. So this we took up because this is what we have explained in the book, majorly in the major content. So if you read the book, how many of you have read the book? There are quite a few. So if you have read the book, so you would think that, okay, I know this, but do you implement this? So that is what matters. So this is what we wanted to tell, and with this, I think we should end this session, because we can go on talking forever, and it's also very hot, and you guys are hungry. Even we are hungry. So
I would really thank you guys for being with us here today. So I hope that we've been able to add some value to your preparation of answer writing and preparation of the general studies. We would request you to, I think, kindly be seated here while we can just make our way down. And
so thank you.
Just
we would like to invite toppers of Gurukul Foundation Program and Gurukul Advanced Program. Jnanendra. Vandana. Rakesh from Gurukul Foundation. Pranesh from Gurukul Foundation. By now, you all will be aware of the Gurukul program we have in IAS Baba. It is trying to revive the Guru Shishya Parampara, and constant mentorship and one-on-one intensive test programs are there. We have two formats in that, Gurukul Foundation and Gurukul Advanced.
So I'd like to thank IAS Baba. So we were also discussing, we were recollecting our preparation days, how we used to daily, she was a...
Yeah, I was a student of the prelims test series, of the year-long prelims test series of IAS Baba. July 2017, I think, sir, the prelims yearly test started. I started giving it every 15 days. The level was a bit high. I used to score less, but I think that has helped me in my final prelims exam to get through. Then the daily questions which are there on the IAS Baba website, we both realized yesterday that we both used to solve it. That is a good boost because it sort of reminds you what was there in the current affairs that day.
So this is what I remember. IAS Baba questions used to be, sir, very difficult. And then maybe back then in 2016-17 when prelims used to be very easy. So we used to think, why is it so difficult? When it started 2018, then now we realize why questions need to be difficult with evolving pattern, with evolving questions, some new questions, which prelims cutoffs are coming down, they are very difficult. So thank you for preparing us because our 18 prelims was really tough. So, and I would say your daily quizzes, 5 questions which you were putting up, I used to, every day I used to attempt that before sleeping, compulsorily. So, and it had helped me in my prelims preparation quite a lot.
For that matter. Answer writing, as I keep telling it, I was more confident in mains, and that was all because of programs like ILP, which, they give you questions every single day to practice. They give you a syllabus in advance that in 15 days we're going to cover this. And then you have questions, you're practicing that. On the forum below, a lot of us share our answer sheets. So I used to put up my answer sheet on Discusser, and a lot of other aspirants from around the country, I don't know them. I used to see their answers, they used to see mine. We used to comment on each other's answers. It was a good platform for peer learning as well. So these kind of platforms you should definitely be taking help from. And you'd like to add anything?
And also the Gurukul system, the word is very catching. The word IAS Baba is only very catching in the beginning. So the Gurukul system which you are bringing up, nowadays the UPSC coaching is rightly transformed from coaching to mentoring. So, and that too you are coming up with a very individual, personalized mentoring thing, which is very good, which we were discussing sometime before. So all the best for that, and all the best for all the Gurukul students. So that's the right way to go, individual mentorship. Because coaching you will sit and you might learn or you might not learn, but when it comes to individual thing, they say here we had so many doubts of different varieties. So that can be clarified by an individual mentor, and that is a very good program is what I think. Because thank you. So thank you so much. Hopefully this session useful agittu nimge anta ankotivi. So, and sorry for keeping you in this hot environment. Questions, whoever has questions, please come down. So Kelgade now, or we'll interact with the second floor students. We'll take up the questions there. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming and bearing with us for the last 3 hours. I know it's quite difficult to sit here. It is like a sauna bath here, right? So we have been sweating, but still that bearing that pain and sitting, right, is in fact, it's okay, it's okay. I can understand their pain, so I don't want to stop them. So in fact, even for mains, you have to sit for 3 hours. If you can develop that habit of sitting at a place for 3 hours, I think it will do wonders, right? This is one learning practice for it. You want to add anything?
For the same point, I would like to add, 2018 mains mein, we wrote in Bangalore Law College, under the same sheet, 3 hours under scorching October sun. So this is what the atmosphere under which you will be writing mains. So get used to this, sitting 3 hours patiently and thinking for all the 3 hours.
So those who have sat till now, till the last minute, will have all the probability to clear this exam. Those who are living, I don't know, I cannot promise. Yeah. Thank you once again, and we have one more bunch of students sitting in the second floor. We have to meet them. Thank you once again. Thank you all.
लगे ये